Hello everyone and welcome back to my shop. Today we're going to finish the installation of the 180-degree thermostat in the Chevy and the repair of that Defective brand new heater hose. So stay tuned. Alright, this is the 180 thermostat I'm going to be putting in the Chevy, the 235. And let's see, I don't know if you can read that, but it states 180 there. This is the thermostat I actually used for break-in of the 235 when I had it on the run stand. Another thing to point out, some people, you may have heard of the term jiggle pin in these thermostats. And this right here is a built-in jiggle pin. You see how it's loose there? And let's see if you can see in the top here. Here's the top part right there. Okay. All right, what this does is when you have this installed and you're filling your system with antifreeze, air can get stuck or lodged in the engine block, and the antifreeze, once it fills up, it'll get to a point and then it sort of compresses against the air, and that air keeps enough of the antifreeze from totally filling the block. What this jiggle pin does, and here it is it allows the air to escape past the thermostat and into the radiator and out the vent, and that allows your fluid to fill all the way up to the bottom, to fill the block all the way up to the bottom of the thermostat here. All right. Now, what some people do, if the thermostat you're putting in doesn't have that jiggle pin, you just drill a simple little hole, maybe a 1/16 of an inch hole, or no bigger than a 3/16, but you know, just a large enough hole. I'm going to guesstimate that's probably a 3/16 hole there, maybe an 1/8 inch. Yeah, okay, let's call it an 8. Okay, let's say 1/8 inch. Just drill it there. Of course, now when this fills, supposedly that pin will go up and it'll keep the and the pressure in the block will keep it closed, so you don't have any fluid bypassing. And if you drill a hole there, you'll have some, but you know, it's minute compared to the how much would pass when this valve opens. So anyway, if you don't have the jiggle pin, you can drill a hole there and it'll do the same thing. It just aids in getting the air out of your system. Alright, I've already drained the radiator. I've covered that several times, so everybody pretty much that's watched any of my videos know. If you drain just the radiator, all you'll need is about 2-gallon jugs, and that'll generally be all you need to drain down. Let me get this out of the way. Just 2-gallon jugs, that's all you'll need to drain down. Any more than that, you'll have to drain from the block. So there's still probably 2 gallons in the block. Now I'm going to go ahead and swap this thermostat, and in order to do that, I'm going to have to move this fuel line out of the way. You know, and it took me a while to get it to stop leaking. It's a shame I'm breaking this loose, and in order to get it that. And I got, it's not a tie wrap, it's just a little wire tie I got there to keep the vacuum line kind of out of the way. Okay, we got him up and out of the way. That's a 5/8 wrench, just in case you want to know. And generally, I'll leave the the hose on the lower thermostat. Just leave that, remove the upper. So we'll see how that goes. Alright, we got him loose. And let's see if we can pry him back. And we're not going to be able to without a little help. I know we all like to watch our some of the real popular mechanics here on YouTube, and they've got these forked looking deals that work real good. And one of these days I may get that, but as you can see, a screwdriver kind of worked all right. And these are 9/16 bolts on the thermostat housing. Again, see, I've got a 160 in here now, and I'm probably would be all right to run it, but I don't know. Even the the upgrade manual, the accessories manual, I should say, said part of the kit when you put a fresh air heater in was to go to a hotter thermostat. Isn't that something? So apparently, now I'm not sure, because the paperwork says, from the factory they could have come as a 160 or a 180, but the 216 and this 235, when I picked it up for rebuild, both of them had 160 thermostats in them. So there we go. There's the gasket. I'm gonna have to clean that off. And there's your thermostat right there, and there's some gasket there I'm going to have to clean off. Okay. All right. So. Kind of shifted the shot there. We all have our favorite methods of removing gaskets, and sometimes you can get if you can get it started good, you can get it off in almost one piece, and that's I'm not going to be successful in that, but it's getting close to being that way. Just got to get it started. It might peel off. Yeah. Let's get my bigger. There's the thermostat. Right there. Yep, definitely 160. And see, I drilled, this didn't have a jiggle pin in it like I described earlier, so I actually drilled a hole, and it looks like it's about a 1/16 inch, which was great because I never had any problems with water, with not getting all the antifreeze in there and air pockets causing overheating. So anyway, I'm going to finish cleaning that gasket up, and I'll be right back. Okay, I wanted to show that I got this good and clean and shiny. What I do is I take my gasket scraper, it's got an edge on it, and a little screwdriver here to get the real small pieces. And I get all the gasket material up, and then I take my wire wheel and I shine it up as best as it can. Now this is cast iron, so part of the cast, so you're not going to get it to shine like this aluminum or anything. But anyway, that's clean. Now we're going to move on to the gooseneck part. And you can see I've got him clamped in the vise so I can really get at it. Alright. Now this gasket, it was a different kind that I put on here. It had sticky, came from the factory with sticky on one side. So I didn't put any gas. There you go. It's kind of peeling off fairly easy. Okay. two styles of thermostat here. Gasket here. Let's see. Is this the type? Yeah, perfect. This has got a little offset to it, which I think means that goes to this 350. Because it's got an offset. I should write on here somewhere 350. Alright, now I've got this other one that's thicker. I don't see a need for a thicker gasket. This thin's all we should need. Okay. So, the way the thermostat would go in is this is your temperature setting. Let me make sure we're showing. This is what detects the temperature, and the valve opens down. So you would want this immersed in the hot water. So that exit, so that would actually set up like this. So your gasket would go on this, and it seals it down because there's a race in the block, and I'll show you that that it goes in. So we're looking good there. I'm going to put a little bit of aviation Permatex on that. And that's after I hit it with a little bit of this here cleaner. Get any of that residue off. Oh yeah, look at that. It's amazing what kind of residue's left even after you think you've really got it cleaned. Now I've done an emergency roadside type repair before where I've had to either remove a sticking thermostat to get it so I could get back home, and I didn't go to this extent to clean it. But then again, I knew I was taking it apart to put a thermostat back in, because you always want to run a thermostat in an engine. Always. No matter where you're at. I know some people think it's good, but the thermostat, its primary function is to get the engine and maintain the engine at a specific operating temperature, which is pretty much close to what it's rated at. So in order to do that, if you've got coolant constantly running through the engine without stopping, it's not, some people say that it doesn't even give the coolant enough time to be cooled properly, so it's going to run hot anyway. So you always want to run a thermostat. All right, I like to use this. Oh, let's get it. Back here. Oh, it's not going to focus because I'm zoomed. That's Permatex Aviation Forma gasket, and I like to use it on both sides. I just like to ensure, because it remains pliable and it comes off. It peels off fairly easy. So I just like to put a thin coating on both sides. Okay, there we go. Now let's make sure that's the 180 thermostat, because I had the 160 over there close to it. All right, this is the 180. Now he goes down in there right like that, and then I'm gonna put the gasket over top it just like that and center it. All right. Okay. Now I'm also going to put some aviation Permatex on this side too. So anyway, just bear with me a moment. Again, I don't want to chance any leaking. I don't want to have to drain this down anymore. And I believe people have been able to do this successfully without any kind of gasket sealer. But I was taught to use gasket sealer, and that's what I'm going to do. Okay. All right. We'll go down here. We'll get one. Now this is. Okay, I thought I had recorded getting that thermostat bolted back in, but we've got the gas line reattached here to the fuel filter, 5/8 wrench, and the two bolts that connect the, I call it the gooseneck, thermostat housing to the lower thermostat housing on the head here. And I've got the upper hose clamp reconnected. And she's ready for the antifreeze. All right, now let's shift gears here to that leaky hose right there. Let's back up a little bit. There we go. Let me see. It's this bottom one right here. Okay. Now I'm gonna take him off up top first. And let's close that up. I'll probably have to put a pan on the inside because I'm sure, even though I've cut the valve off, but there's residual antifreeze that's going to be in that line. All right, so it's all right. We got him. I really put the tighten on him, so I don't know. Yeah, he's coming off fairly easy. That's surprising. All right. Oh no! How much leaked? I had that valve closed. Need to catch that. That's coming from the core, I guess, the heater core, which is more than likely full. I tell you, my luck with antifreeze is I can't do anything involving antifreeze and not make a mess. There's just no way I can do it. That's why I dread working on anything to do with it. Try to get it done right the first time. We're underneath it. All right. Let's position that a little better because we're going to get some more coming out. All right. And that's just going to be lost. There, you knock the thing down too. There. Okay. Well, more leak than I wanted to see leak. Dadgummit. What can you do? That valve's closed. It's supposed to be closed. And it came, well, it could have circled up from the bottom. Oh, you leaking dude. And that's antifreeze I'm not going to be able to recover. Because it's going through that dirty, hitting that frame where I've got a lot of road grime. I don't want to reuse it. I mean, I'll just go buy me another jug. I got another jug. But I just hate to be wasteful. Anyway, I'm going to get me a little pan for inside here. All right. We'll put him on there while I'm thinking about it. And I want that to go about right like that. Yeah, that looks good, about right there. Okay. Okay. Let's square the end off. There we go. All right, that looks good. That's how I want the clamp to go, like that. Slide him on there. Okay, good deal. Get that clamp on there. Where's that? Right there is where I want him. Okay. Right there. Okay. All right. Let's put some antifreeze in this puppy. Okay, for those of you all that didn't see the install video of this Deluxe heater right here, I wanted to show the connections down here. Now this inside hose, of course, it's the inside one, the hardest one to get to. That's the one I just had to replace. That was defective, and that's the Deluxe heater that I will do. Well, I do my cruising videos, and I like to remark it's not really been cold enough to keep the heater on long enough to tell you how great it works. I run it for maybe 5 minutes or so, and then well, I guess that's a testimony in itself. I run it for 5 minutes and all, then I turn it off and I crack the window because of course the temperatures outside are raising. So anyway, that's the inside connection of the hose. And well, I guess I'll just go ahead and show the outside. And this is him right here. I tell you, my video editing here is going to be terrible if that light will stay. And this is it right here. So it's the upper, comes out and it's the upper. So it was easy to do on the outside. It was a pain to do on the inside, but I would have rather it been reversed, but you know how it is. So anyway, that's that. And again, seems like I'm putting I do a lot of antifreeze adding in here anymore. How many times have I had to drain this to add the valve since I rebuilt it? Man. So sop some of that up. I'm not going to be able to tell if I'm leaking. Now I did lose some, so I'm going to have to put some more in other than the two I pulled out. I should at least, this should be covering at least the top of the coils here, and we are. Okay, oh, look at that green down there on the deck. Oh man, I just hate that. All right, put some more in there. I carry antifreeze and oil with me. Thankfully, I've never had to use it, but I like to carry some with me. And all right, let's see what we got. quite to the one on the 180. Yeah, the hoses are getting hot. Real hot. No leak. Thermostat still hasn't opened yet. We're almost to the 8 of the 180. Should be opening real shortly. Starting to crack open. I've seen a little smoke. It's getting warm. Open. Good. It's hot. So it opened at 180, or I understand it cracks open. It doesn't get fully opened until it's past that, but it starts to open at 180. Them hoses are hot. She hadn't drained down too much yet, so turn the heater on the fan. Good heat. No leaks inside. Fill up the top here. Whew, that hot. My hands have been, well, I'll talk about that in a minute. Dead centered on the 8 of 180, and normally that 160 would be more or less on the 1, so it is running 5 to 10 degrees hotter, which according to its labeling it should. I didn't see any. You know, that heater hose was all part of one piece, and this bottom one was off that same run. And I looked at it. I'll show you some close-ups of the dimples. It's like some machine clamped it or something, maybe during manufacture. And one of those punctures went too far. Or one of those dimples, I should say, went too far and punctured the actual hose. But it wasn't a steady leak. It was like, and it would leak more shut off than it would running under pressure. You know, but these engines, they don't run, this engine runs at basically 0 pressure. The cap is a 0 pound cap. So once it it pressurizes, it's going to dump, and it's going to dump into this overflow tube. But the way this cooling system is set up, and I guess cleaning that engine block, getting it dipped, really cleaned out all the cooling passages. It does not run hot at all. This runs a lot cooler than the 216 did that was in here. I think I remarked on that earlier in this video. You would think that with almost, not quite double the horsepower, almost double the horsepower, that this would run hotter, but actually it runs cooler with the exact same cooling setup. Amazing. Anyway. seeing any leaks. It hasn't really dropped much. Let's put the cap on. There's a little bit in there. No more than between a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch. So, I believe we're in business. I don't see any fuel leak. That's good. I don't see any thermostat leak. I don't see the hose leaking. And we're at temperature. But you know, actually a good test will be after I shut it down, because without the coolant circulating, it's actually going to get a little hotter before it starts cooling down. So let's see what that'll tell us. Good deal. So we'll watch that thermostat a little bit. Now's when it'll probably overflow some into the tube too, before it starts cooling off. It should start heating up more. And I'm leaving the valve open anymore, since I'll just leave the valve open probably till spring, till I don't need heat anymore. And we'll just go from there. Yeah, it's climbing a little bit. It's close to the, it's into the 0 of the 180. So picture 180, where 8 being 180 degrees, with the 1 being 175 perhaps. Now it's moving into the 0, which it could be what? Conceivably 185. Now this is the stock 216 gauge that's in here. So it tops out at 212 degrees. That's the hottest mark on it. Now I know the ones that came with the 235s and the GMCs that had the bigger engines, I think they went up to 220. But this tops out at 212. So I guess I could do some measuring and some math and come up with an exact on it, but I'll stay with my guesstimation and figure that it's probably getting close to 185 now. So anyway, and there's a little bit of steam rising. You know, I've been thinking real hard on this, and I'm thinking I'm going to do it. I believe I'm going to take that PCV mod I did on the 216 and move it over to here. So I'll run a PCV valve, and I'm actually thinking about putting that bypass oil filter on here too. I don't know. There's a couple people that I consider living experts on these engines, and one of them he's got his own website. Pre-54 Dave is his handle, and he does not like these bypass oil filters. He says if he encounters one, a car or truck that has one, he'll take it off if he trades and buys for it. To me, I see that I don't see an issue having them. These came from the factory without them, you know, and if you keep the oil changed at a maximum of 3,000 mile intervals, well, you should be fine. But I figure with a PCV valve and that bypass oil filter, it's quite possible I could extend the life of this engine, or at least maintain its present performance level. Since I know it's brand spanking new rebuilt with all the new parts, I've had a good benchmark where I can measure it, and I know that, well, it's questionable whether I did hit 180. I think it did. And I think if I would have had a little bit more highway, I probably could have eventually got there. I've yet to run this on the interstate yet, but so I know via the sound of it, how quiet it runs, how much power it has, how it can pull hills without, without even thinking about downshifting. Where with the 216 I'd have to. I have a benchmark, so I know what to compare this engine to when the time comes it starts getting wore out. And to get 100,000 miles out of one of these engines in stock form was an amazing feat. They just because well, you think about it, without a PCV system, it's sucking in air. This 54 had 3 slots here. Well, I gotta watch what I'm doing here. I'm rolling a little bit. I guess I didn't set my parking brake. Anyway, and it had 3 slots. So the way the vent system inside the engine should work, how it would evacuate the crankcase gases, built pressure. It would bring air from through those 3 slots and down and out through the draft tube. Well, that's dirty air. I mean, if you're in a dirty, dusty environment, that is just getting into the engine, getting into the oil, which is being circulated through all those bearings. And you're talking about these main bearings I put in here have a 1.5 thousandths of an inch clearance. In other words, I'm running real tight clearances, and that's with shims, with one shim on each main cap. And I got the same on the rods, and there's no shims on the rods. So you've got that oil with that debris circulating, and it's dirt and dust. That's just nothing like, sandpaper, So that's why these engines didn't last as long. So if you go with a positive crankcase ventilation system, a PCV valve, you'll draw air through a filtered source, which would be from your air filter. You draw it into the engine that way, and it dumps it back to the intake manifold, where it reintroduces it into the cylinders and reburns it. So it's not only good for the environment, it's actually good for the engine. And so that's a good thing. So anyway, that's things I'm pondering. But I know that I should be concentrating on that GMC. I already started the part 1 of the heater, and I'm not forgetting about it at all. But since I'm driving this quite a bit, I wanted to address that leaking hose. And since I had it down, I decided I'd go ahead and do the thermostat upgrade too. Like I say, the accessory manual indicated as part of the kit that would come with the Deluxe heater package would be a hotter thermostat. So in this case would have been 180. So I'm pretty much following, other than of course I don't have the correct valve. I got this valve here, which seems to be, knock on wood, working pretty good. So anyway, I will be on that GMC. Of course, holidays have hit, and it's getting kind of hard to spend a whole lot of time doing major projects. But I'm still going to get the heater put in him, because I kind of like to run him through that Christmas parade. Although this Chevy is my favorite, and I prefer driving it over the GMC. Everybody that I know, including my better half, likes that GMC better because of the color and the looks. So anyway, we'll have to get him running. So we got some Christmas parades coming up and everything, and we're still having some of those meet and greets. So I guess I need to get that out there and get it discovered. So anyway, that's where we're at. Thanks for watching. All right, it may be hard to see, so I'll get as close as I can, but there's perforated dimples looks like about 2 inches, and it runs the entire length of this hose. Oddly enough, it wasn't on the other piece, but when I bought this hose, I bought like a 6-foot section, so it's kind of odd, but I'll try to point them out. See the dimples? Here's one. Here's one. See, there's one. Every 2 inches. And my mark's gone, but I believe it was this one right here. Okay. I'll tell you, sorry about my poor video. And here we go. That's the one I think was leaking right there. But then see right here, here's one, there. See, it runs the whole length, those perforations. And that's the one. No, right here's the mark, I can see it. That's the one right there that actually was leaking. Now, they all may have leaked eventually. So anyway, that's it.